Hear ye, come one, come all. You are listening to the Six Cents Report with Joel Nikoloff and Darnell Samuels. Today you'll only be getting 3 cents of the Six Cents Report, as I'll be introducing an interview I did with my friend IJ for his podcast and online magazine called Kazingram Dialogue. And so we talked about being black and conservative. And so just to kind of give you more context and preface some of the remarks that I make in this interview, when I use the word conservative, I'm not necessarily talking about a political view, but more so holding to traditional attitudes and values and cautious about change or innovation, typically in relation to politics or religion, as opposed to, a liberal way of thinking, open to new behavior or opinions and willing to discard traditional values. So I hope you guys enjoy it. It's basically kind of a background on myself and how my political, economic, and maybe even theological views have developed over the years, especially being, in my experience, being a black male. So I hope you guys enjoy. If you guys have any questions, you guys know where to find me. Do go to Darnell on Twitter and Instagram, and that's DOGUDDA_Darnell, or you can find me on Facebook as Darnell Samuels. All right, I hope you guys enjoy.
Today I spoke with my friend Darnell Samuels. Darnell is the co-host of the Six Cents Report. The Six Cents Report is a fantastic podcast. You should all check it out. It's where Joel and him discuss ideas and issues that affect Canadians in an intellectually honest way. In this episode, Darnell and I talk about what it's like being black and conservative, how he became a conservative. We talk about minimum wage. We talk about Walter Williams. We talk about his black love ethic. We talk about family, the importance of family, and why Darnell does not like the way Candace Owens engages with people. He thinks that there's a better way to convince people of conservatism instead of being brash. So I hope you enjoy this podcast as much as I did. Check it out. What's up, Darnell?
How you doing, IJ?
Doing well, man. It's got a early morning for us. You came down here quite early.
Yeah, but it was worth it, man. I'm excited. I'm really excited. So, this is my first interview, man. So you're the first person to ask my opinion on something. So
here's the thing. I'll start off with a very light topic. What's it like being black and being social conservative?
Oh, okay. Man, it's weird, man, because I was raised liberal, but you didn't know it was liberal. So there's just like this common narrative among, being black. Like, for example, you get the talk from your parents. So I got the talk. And for those who don't know what the talk is, it's the talk your parents give you, give their black kids, usually their sons, that you are, as a black male, or the system, the world is against you, so you have to work 2 times as hard as your white counterparts to get anywhere in life. And so I was raised even by my dad, that the police authority is my enemy, and so the music, the rap music I listen to, it's against authority. So it was just a common narrative that I grew up with, and then when I started being introduced to conservative ideas, it was just like a paradigm shift. It was just weird.
So is this talk like most black kids get this talk? Is this common?
Yes, I would say it's common in the sense, as common as the narrative as like just liberal thought. Now, of course, at the time, I don't know what's liberal. I don't know what's conservative. Right. All I know is that, police hurt black people. Black people seem to get the short end of the stick, and that's it. And that's a fact. You don't like when people say, "Oh, that's liberal." What? I don't know what liberal is. I don't know what conservative. All I know is that this is my reality, and that's it. So now of course not every single black parent does this, but it's done out of safety.
Okay.
So it's not done out of hatred. It's done out of safety and love, because once your child steps out into the real world, racism hurts. You know what I mean? And being roughed up by the authority figures hurts. Having getting the short end of the stick hurts. So they're kind of like preparing you for real life. Yeah, so that's done out of love in that sense.
So after the talk, when you were out in the real world, did you notice that what they were saying were true? Or was it was it like a what do you call it? Confirmation bias, sort of? You're like, oh yeah, this is happening for sure.
Confirmation bias. That's a good way to put it. That's a very good way to put it. But I would say no, it's not confirmation bias. So for example, my dad told me about the police.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, and like my very first interaction with the police was 10 years old.
Really?
I'm on a bike and they're pulling me over.
What?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
For what? Oh yo.
You know what? It was just man. It was just the interactions. It was just a constant interaction.
Was it like hey, what's up, kid? Or like, what are you doing here?
No, it's more like yeah, what are you doing here? Or do you got a record? What's your name?
What?
Yeah, I know.
As a 10,
right?
you're like,
yeah,
yo.
Right? So, and I told my dad, and my dad's like, okay, next time a police asks you a question, you tell him to go F himself. Right? Like, that's my pop. So he's just like, yeah, tell him to go F himself. And so from then on, from that day on, I've constantly been in confrontation with police. Even like, sometimes they'll come to my house asking for my friends, right? So my mom would be like, hey, man, tell them you don't know anything. You know what I mean? Because you know what I mean? Like the next thing you know, people find out the police came to my house and then they go and book my boy Kevin. Yeah. And they're like, oh, well, the last place they were at was Darnell's house. Darnell snitching on the block, and then everybody's coming at me. Even like, when I was at Tyndale, I'm being stopped by police.
What?
Brother.
What do you mean?
It's because like a Tyndale. What? Yeah.
Well, what, the security guards, or you mean
no,
just like the cops?
Bro. Okay, so
cops and baby?
So back at the old building,
Yeah.
We had the Shoppers Drug Mart in the back.
That's right.
And so I went in to go grab, I don't know, lotion or whatever, and I went in, and I came out. I didn't buy anything. I was like, oh, the Shoppers Drug Mart's too expensive, anyways. Yeah. And I came out, and there's a police officer. There's a car in front of the store, and the police officer was sitting on the car. And when I walked out, I saw him. I saw him. Yeah. And I was like, oh, frig. And I just stopped. And I just put my hands up. And then he just looked at me. He said, sorry, they called me. He's like, sorry, they called me. And but again, I've been through this. That's what I'm saying. Like from when I was young.
So why would they call you? What,
because somebody in the store, the manager thought I was suspicious. So he called the police.
Suspiciously?
Pardon?
Were you dressed?
No, like no. No, but I was in the store. Like I couldn't figure out what I wanted to buy, so I guess that looked suspicious.
Oh, because you're like,
just wondering. Yeah, man, your Shoppers Drug Mart has a lot. I was probably reading the magazines or whatever. I don't know. Thinking to buy licorice.
There's a black man. 911. There's a black man. He's just picked up lotion.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he wants to get, but I remember I came out and I didn't have anything in my hand. So either way, he was already there waiting. So I already saw him there waiting, and I knew he was there for me. And I just stopped, and then he just said, sorry, man. They called me, and I just put my hands up. I said, yo, don't worry, man. I already know. It's okay.
Was this a Caucasian cop?
No, brown guy.
The brown guy.
Yeah, so it was just one of those things. I said, I told the officer, I was like, look, man, it's cool. Like, it's okay. I'm used to it, so it doesn't bother me anymore. Yeah. So I just and he just started patting me down in front of the store, started searching me.
Yo, that's nuts.
Yeah, but it didn't bother me though.
Because you're like, whatever.
Yeah, it really.
You had nothing to hide,
bro. It doesn't bother me, man. It really doesn't. It's just part of life, and it didn't bother me. Now, when I told people, they were shocked. But the other black guy at Tyndale, Andre, Andre Paris. So I told Andre. Andre's like, yeah. And then his girlfriend at the time, she was like, "They did what? I can't believe this. This is outrageous. I can't." And me and Andre are looking at each other like, "What do you mean this is outrageous? This is life, man. This is normal, man. What do you like?" So we kind of laughed about it, but she was like offended. But me and Andre weren't offended. We're like, "Yo, man, like this is just."
But is it normal to not be offended, or is it more normal to be offended?
Because my mom and dad already primed me for this.
Yeah,
I was already used to it.
Oh.
There's been times I've been surrounded on a block. Back when I had to go see I think a psychologist or a therapist because I was having issues, and so he lived in a rich neighborhood, and so my dad was just paying for my session, and then I went outside to go wait by the car, and I was just sitting on the car waiting by the car.
Yeah.
And I was like this, so then the police car comes down one end of the road, and then he cuts me off. And then on the other end of the road, a police officer comes, and they cut me off. And they're like, so they cut me off, and I'm on the car. And they cut me off, and they're asking me, what am I doing in the neighborhood?
Yeah.
And I said, I'm here to see my doctor. They're like,
Yeah.
Your doctor? Where does he live? I'm like, he's over there. And, they checked, and they followed up. They said, yeah, well, somebody in the neighborhood saw you out here, and it looked like you didn't belong, so they called the police. And I was like, okay, that's cool. They're like, oh yeah, okay, well, sorry
cool.
about that.
Just
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, but my dad came out. Oh man, so
pissed, eh?
it was just one of those things. Like my dad came out, and he just looked hurt, and he was quiet on the way home. We were just quiet, didn't say much, but it was just again, it didn't bother me. Although it did kind of bother me because they surrounded me, and so you know what I mean.
Like a criminal.
Well, huh?
As if you were a criminal.
Yeah, well,
Like,
hey, man, like this is why, so it was like I was on the car, but okay, I was nervous a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if I'm surrounded, that means they probably think I'm a threat, and they might shoot on sight.
Right.
So I like I said, I got the talk, so I already know not to act crazy.
Yeah.
So I just waited for them to approach me and so forth. So yeah, so I wouldn't say that's confirmation bias. Like
Yeah.
One more story for the audience. So I know that's all. Like when I'm telling, like that's what when I say to people, like they're like, "Oh man, you're conservative, man. Yo, this guy's crazy." Yeah, yeah, but I've experienced these things, but I still have a conservative way of looking at it.
Yeah, because okay, what's the story?
So so my job had a at the time they had a 0 tolerance policy on being late. So I'm like, okay, Frig. So I'm in the mall.
Yeah.
At Square One, and I'm like, I'm running through the mall, man. I'm trying to get to, catch the bus so I don't get in trouble. I'm doing all right, and I'm wearing my Blue Jays fitted, and not this one, but the one with not the old logo, but the new one at the time. And yeah, man, I read, and then I was running to the door, and then there's a security guard. Oh no, it was a police officer. It was a police officer standing in front of the door. And as I'm moving towards the door, he's like cutting me off, and he says, "Come with me." And I was like, man. So they detained me.
In the mall.
Huh?
In the mall.
No, because they have like a police station attached to the mall.
Okay.
So then they put me in a holding cell sorta, until they can clarify who I was, because the night before there was a shooting in the subway, and someone was killed. So I fit the description of the guy who did the shooting.
Right.
So the guy who did the shooting had a Blue Jays fitted on.
Okay.
But but for anybody that knows, just in general, whatever city you're from, you wear the baseball cap of the city you're from. You know what I mean? If you're from New York, you wear your Yankees.
Yeah.
If you're from Toronto, you wear your Blue Jays, right? Everybody has a Blue Jays hat.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those things. But so that's why, they detained me. They searched my stuff. They put me in a holding cell just to make sure who I was. And all I said, man, I wasn't even mad. I was just like, look, man, you need to write me a letter and tell Mark Francis that that you guys were holding me up, man, because he's not gonna believe me. You know what I mean? So it was kind of funny. I was just like, yo, just make sure you guys write this out and just let them know, like, I'm late because you guys had to search me, So it was cool at that point. But again, like, I'm only like giving you these stories because this adds to the narrative of, some, for some black people. So that's why your parents would give you that talk. So
it's for your safety. They're not saying, so it's not necessarily that it's they're not trying to make you hate the cops. They're just trying to say, hey, this is a reality. I want you to be aware of it so that you don't get shot.
Or like act brand new, or like, the police say, hey, come with me. What? I have rights out here. Don't you ever get your hands. Next thing you know, I'm Trayvon Martin or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. So you really can't, or Michael Brown. It's just one of those things like, you can't act crazy as a black person. Like, you really have to chill.
Yeah.
So, again, but that was just part of the narrative, the music. I listened to the movies I watched, the TVs I watched. Fresh Prince. Fresh Prince was tamed.
Awesome.
Yeah, but he was detained by the police. Him and Carlton, they were pulled over. No. There was an episode where they were pulled over, and then Philip, Uncle Phil had to come and get them out because he was a judge, and the white officers didn't believe him, but Uncle Phil was just gave him that lawyer judge talk. And then eventually, Uncle Phil called one of his white friends, and they got Will and Carlton out of jail. And at the end, Carlton and Will, Carlton was still second guessing the police pulling them over. Like Carlton didn't get it. Right. Like Will's from West Philadelphia. He gets it, And so Carlton's like, but I would have pulled myself over. He's like, but I would, he's like, you could see him wrestling with it.
Yeah.
He's like, but Will, like, they pulled us over because they thought we were criminals, not because we were black.
Yeah.
And Will's just like, look, Carlton, they only see one thing. And he just taps him on his face. He's like, they only see one thing. And then he leaves the room, and then Carlton's still standing there. And he's like, but I would have pulled myself over. And he was like, still confused. So these are narratives you see like on your favorite TV shows and the music. And it's just part of the narrative. So I would, like, as I said, for most black people, or for some who aren't as well versed in political rhetoric, they're not going to say, "Oh, I'm leftist," or "I'm a liberal," or "I'm this." All they say is, "Look, man, all I know is I can be pulled over, so I better not act crazy where I can get myself killed."
Right, and you could even like, you could be like, "Oh, I have been pulled over, and so this is most likely okay." So here's the thing: you've been pulled over, you've been surrounded by cops, and this fits what we would call the liberal narrative of things.
Yeah.
But you're not a liberal by any stretch of the means, if I'm correct.
Well, I used to.
What happened? Like, how? Okay, I'm trying to understand how it is that with all this happening, how you're not a liberal.
Well, I think like there's two sides to it. I guess so. Like, I guess for me, being a Christian, and understanding sin of people, and then understanding, like, extending a measure of grace, like always assume the best. Always assume the best until you could prove otherwise, because you don't know the intentions. I can't read the intentions of a man's heart.
Yeah.
And a man's mind. Just like those police who came to search him in front of Shoppers Drug Mart, like, he's only just doing his job. So that's why I said to him, like, yo, it's okay, like, you're doing your job.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. And you can't tell what's on a person's heart or mind. So that's sin to falsely accuse somebody of something like that. So that's why I don't play with that. But I think politically or socially, I changed, stumbling upon like Thomas Sowell material, taking economics with Professor Krauss.
Yeah.
And yeah, so basically with Sowell, it was more so hearing another side of the black experience that rarely is ever heard. I know I wasn't introduced to any of these ideas. You know what I mean? So it's usually like Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton.
Yes.
On one side, Thomas Sowell, Walter Williams on the other. I've never heard of Thomas Sowell. I've never heard of Walter Williams. Jesse Jackson, and those guys. You know what I mean? So, you're used to the rhetoric. So, yeah. So I stumbled across his material in class.
So did you read? What did you read? Basic Economics or
Yeah, Basic Economics and
Vision of the Anointed?
No, not Vision of the Anointed. Oh gosh, I have to look that up. Let me see. Vision of the Anointed. But you know what? A lot of times it was just watch. First, it was just his lectures. So I was looking at his his talks, his lectures, reading essays. Really getting instead of I wasn't really getting to the books just yet. I was just like, okay, let me get a short snippet of who is this guy talking like a coon. Right. Oh, do you know what a coon is?
That's a black guy who is a white guy inside.
Yeah, well, it's a derogatory term towards black people. Or a black person. So black people use it among each other. So it's
like a trader or something.
Yeah, like a trader, a coon, Uncle Tom.
Uncle Tom. Okay, I've heard Uncle Tom.
Yeah. So so I was just like, man, this guy talking like a coon. You know what I mean? So you're dismissing, but it was just for me at this point. For me, I was on this whole bent about solutions, so I didn't really dismiss his ideas outright. So yeah, I didn't dismiss his ideas outright. I was just more so thinking like, okay, I want to fulfill the first Great Commission, which is the cultural mandate found in Genesis chapter 1, verses 28 to 26, where God gives a command to all people to cultivate creation for the benefit of others. So I'm on this. So this whole principle, I'm sold on, and I'm all about solutions. So I didn't dismiss his ideas. I was just like, okay, well, he's offering solutions that sound like they work, So yeah.
So what was the one thing that you read from Soul that made you really go, okay, maybe there's something more to this?
It was so I have. It was the Quest for Cosmic Justice.
Quest for Cosmic Justice. Okay.
Yeah, so I have Quest for Cosmic Justice, and then I have at home. I can't remember what it was. Because I had the Basic Economics, and then
Quest for Justice.
Economic Facts and Fallacies.
Yes.
So I have Economic Facts and Fallacies, and then the Quest for Cosmic Justice. And then checking out his blog post, but I think it wasn't necessarily him, but it was Walter Williams.
Okay.
That made me say, "Oh shoot, this is interesting." So his whole thing, I didn't read any books from him, but there was like something on YouTube where he was explaining minimum wage.
Yeah.
And he was basically showing how minimum wage hurts black people.
Right.
And I was just like, oh. What? So basically minimum wage, it phases two types of people out of the market: young people and low skilled workers.
Right.
It phases out low skills, and that turns out to be young black people. Low skilled workers are young people. Yeah, statistically, okay. It phases out, and it's not just black people who may be young and unskilled, but usually it falls on that end of the spectrum. And even like the origin of minimum wage was to keep black people out of
was it really
during apartheid. So
really
so with apartheid you have before it you have blacks able to work in the market. So if the minimum wage is zero, as most Chicago school economists would say, like the true minimum wage is zero.
Yeah.
And so you start there and you're like, okay, well, zero. Well, why zero? Well, at this point, now you can barter for work. So if white workers are willing to work for $10, but then a black worker comes and says, okay, well, I'll work for $9.
Yeah.
Well, the employer's like, well, shoot, I want to save some money.
Yeah. Same. If they can do the same work.
Yeah.
I'm going for the
right.
Yeah.
And so now for the white worker, you're like, okay, am I going to go below that 9?
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? Like at a certain point, you're like, okay, no, that's just too low for me. Mm-hmm. So then, you're hiring the black person. And even like, just even like fresh out of slavery, blacks were good workers. We developed skills during slavery that made us employable.
Yeah.
So you have blacks being able to find work because the minimum wage is zero.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times people say, oh, well, black people aren't able to find work because of racism. Well, no, we were able to find work even though there was racism because the minimum wage was zero.
Mm-hmm.
So then, unions started saying, okay, well, whites started to form unions, and they said, okay, well, look, we'll put it at, we'll cut it off minimum wage at this point. That way it phases out all the black people, and they can't barter for.
Right.
Yeah, they can't barter to.
Because once you have a minimum wage, you can't be like, look, I'll work for $8 minimum wage is $10.
Yeah, because it's illegal. Yeah, it's illegal.
Legal.
Yeah. It's illegal to pay somebody below that amount. But if somebody's willing to grind and put in the work,
yeah,
because people don't really see it that way. They just say, okay, well, it's not enough money.
Yeah.
But the higher you raise it, then even like for employers, now like it's high, you're hiring less people.
You are.
You know what I mean? So when I heard that, I was just like, wait a minute, that makes sense. It's just math. Like, and that's the thing, like, not to go off on a tangent, but this is why, people study, classical education in that, math is one of those components, arithmetic, and that arithmetic helps you come to the truth because, truth is all about the math. 1 + 1 = 2. So, the numbers are verifiable.
Yeah.
When you do the math, and that's why I was able to, when Walter Williams was doing the math on minimum wage, I was like, well, the math looks like it all adds up, and it ends up hurting black people. But it's funny, but then black people who hold to a liberal view, what do they vote? They're voting for, the minimum wage to go up.
Yeah.
Right. They're putting it to go up. They're like, yeah, black people need more, young black moms need more money.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you're like, our young men are out of work.
Yeah.
We gotta raise it so they can do stuff with them. Well, yeah, but now you're putting more of them out of work. So this is what sparks me where I'm like, okay, you know what? This economics thing, to me, if I can give a definition, like to me, economics is the science of helping people. That's how I would summarize it. Because now, like, if you're really trying to help people, if you're really serious, then you'll do the math and you'll study the science on what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because not doing it properly, you end up hurting those you're trying to help.
Right. Long term wise, you might end up hurting them.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And that's why not a shameless plug, but that's why we started 6 Cents Report.
Yeah. So. See, there's the thing that about minimum wage when what was it? Usually when you hear it in the news, it's about affordability, right? It's like, man, we need to raise minimum wage because we can't afford to live in, let's say, Toronto. I mean, Toronto is an expensive city. Let's be clear, but it's always, we can't afford to live on, what's the minimum wage here? 12?
15 now. 15.
What?
Yeah, man, it's 15. Yeah, it's 15, bro.
It's 15?
Yeah, it's 15 here. We're doing all right. Yeah, we're doing all right.
I'm over here thinking it's like $12.75.
Yeah, no, we're 15, man. We're 15.
Was this from Kathleen Wynn?
Yeah, we're 15. I know, right? I know, it's crazy.
How is someone, do we have, is the minimum wage here 15 for if you're 21 and above? Like, is there a minimum wage for underage kids working?
I can't remember, but I can't remember. Once we get to a certain point in the year, it's just across the board.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just $15 across the board. So I mean,
that's crazy. If you don't have any experience, who's going to pay you $15 for you to gain experience?
Right, and then also you think about it like when I can't remember what it was before. I think it was probably like 12 or something. But if you think about it, for like a person who was already making 15,
yeah, and
this wasn't the minimum, and the minimum was like 12 or 11, and then you bring it up to 15, that neutralizes. Like eventually everything adjusts. Like the prices adjust, and the person who was already at 15, it brings them down because now their $15 doesn't go as far as it used to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So you're like, wait a minute, now I'm making a minimum wage.
Yeah.
When I was 15 was pretty good because those guys were making less. But now you're like, oh, wait a minute. Wait, this neutralizes me. So, it hurts people in different ways when you really start to look at it. But yeah. So Walter Williams was Walter Williams and Thomas Sowell really got me going. And also Larry Elder. I'm not sure if you're familiar with
Larry Elder.
Oh man. So Larry Elder, it's funny.
He is.
It's funny you say this. Okay, so Larry Elder, and He's a jerk, man. He's a jerk, bro.
In his interview, he was always like straight face.
He's a jerk and a half, man. So as far as like me being conservative, Larry Elder's a conservative, but he speaks. What was attractive to me about him was that he was aggressive. Oh yeah, like
you didn't take a backseat in conversation.
Well, he was just aggressive in his rhetoric. Not, well, of course, being a jerk, but also calling out certain truths. In that, like, he just simply asked for proof.
Right.
And
what's your evidence?
Yeah. So what's your evidence? Yeah, it's like, what's your evidence?
What's your proof? Evidence with this?
What's your proof? And you're like, well, I was stopped. I was surrounded. Yeah. It happened to me. He's like, okay, yeah, that happened to you, but like what's the proof? So he was very aggressive in that way, where it kind of forced me to like, okay, like really reevaluate. Am I interpreting things by my experience, or even just looking at the numbers? So these are things that he's one of those guys that kind of opened up my eyes. But I feel like being conservative, a black conservative, I think there's still a way. I feel like Larry Elder could do a better job of communicating his ideas rather than going straight for like shock value. Him and what's that other black girl's name?
Candace Owens.
Yeah, Candace Owens. I feel like.
You think they're doing the same thing that the liberals are doing?
No, I just feel like like I feel like the shock value, coming in and guns blazing, that hasn't really been my way necessarily of coming across, especially as Christians. Like I think it's probably the Christian in me, because we know as Christians that the gospel's already an offense. It's already offensive.
Right.
There's no need to come in with guns blazing. So when you're really trying to witness to somebody. You're coming across gentle. You're trying to find points of agreement,
right?
To slide in with the gospel, because people are like, oh, I don't like Christians. I don't want to hear what you guys have to say because this and that, and you're dismissed, and they miss an opportunity for eternal life. So I kind of take that principle, and there are truths within the conservative camp that would be helpful to black people. So I try not to be offensive. I try not to be too harsh, because I was there too. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was stopped. You know what I mean? I used to rap songs of F the police.
Can you
give
us one of your lines?
Huh?
Can you give us one of your lines from your old?
It's been a while, man, but essentially, like, it was one of those things where I was just really trying to not offend people, but try to communicate my ideas in a more gentler way. And I feel like that they could do that too. But, like I said, like I've been there, and you resonate with the liberal narrative, because I've been there and I have family members who are part of that.
Okay.
But yeah, I just felt like those guys could do a better job communicating those ideas, because then maybe you would have more blacks who think more conservative.
That's interesting, because I to me, my thought process was, at least with Candace Owens and Larry Elder, is that the reason that they're presenting their views the way they are doing it is because they're reacting to how aggressive the liberals are. So they're like, well, we're going to do it the same way, and it's
I wouldn't say liberals are aggressive.
You wouldn't think they're aggressive?
No, I wouldn't say they're aggressive. I would say that Candace and Larry Elder are annoyed. Like that's a different thing. I think they're just annoyed with, and I'm not saying black people. They're just annoyed with the stupidity. I'm not saying black people are stupid, but they're annoyed with the stupidity that they see, among some blacks.
Okay.
So, when you're annoyed, you're just like, look, man, I'm just tired of this crap. You guys need to,
whatever, with no
yeah, man. You guys just need to wake up, man. You guys just need to stop, having kids out of wedlock, and stop, saying F the police, but then turn around calling the police when someone steals your stuff. Like, you guys just need to, cut all that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's where they were kind of coming from.
So you think a better way to communicate would be a more of a long form, calmer, more, because it's not like they're not irrational, right? When they're presenting these things, do you think?
Who's being irrational?
Sorry, Candace Owens and
Larry Elder. No. They're bringing pretty good arguments. Even like Larry Elder, just with the systemic racism.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on systemic racism? Because just from your experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would think, hey, maybe there's a bias against black people.
Mm-hmm. So part of it is like, it's the same thing being Christian. When people say, okay, is God real? How do you know there's life after death?
Yeah.
When you study apologetics, which is defending the faith, you learn that you got to define your terms. And you're not trying to be a superhero in the conversation and answer every question, but just clarifying your terms. And I think, dealing with systemic racism or institutional racism, defining the terms, that's where you start. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so for me, I guess I've been blessed to be a slow thinker. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it gets me trouble at work. And it gets me trouble at home with my wife.
Okay.
So my wife will say, go get this.
Yeah. And
then I'll get the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And she'll be like, no, what? Get this. And then I'll get the wrong thing. She'll say, okay, she'll send me instructions to make lunch. And she's like, you get this pan. And I'm like, okay, I took a picture of the pan. I sent her a pan. She's like, no, not that pan. I said, okay. And I got 2 pans. I was like, okay, I got to get this right. I showed her the 2 pans. And she just laughed. And she's like, no. And it was just one of those just ongoing things. She's like, yeah, Darnell. And she'll explain to other people, like, when Darnell asks you questions, he's not doing that to be a jerk. He really just doesn't get it. He's just a slow thinker that way.
Okay.
So I can acknowledge that I'm a slow thinker and I don't get things. And that's why people kind of get annoyed with me. They're like, okay, but you don't get this? And I'm like, actually, no, I don't. I don't get, like, ask my boss, ask my wife, like, I don't get simple things. So when I'm saying, like, what's institutional racism, I'm not being...
You're not being facetious.
Yeah, no. Like, when I'm saying, okay, sorry, I don't know what that means. Okay. What do you mean? Like, yes, I've been pulled over, but, like, okay, you're using a term. When Christians, like, people are using terms like, okay, what do you mean propitiation? What do you mean Christ rose from the dead? Yeah. Oh, yeah, Jesus rose from the dead. He got up and made barbecue and with the apostles.
Yo, what's up?
Yeah, but you're like, wait, slow down. What do you mean that? But systemic racism, institutional racism, like, okay, show me a policy. Let's start there. Okay. Show me something. And so for me...
show you a policy where it's overtly racist.
Yeah. Well, explicit, implicit, looking at, verifying a text, and dealing with the problems so we can get to the solution. But a lot of times is the discussion goes in this direction. Do you believe in institutional racism? And then you say, well, no. Well, then you must be part of the problem. I'm like, whoa, how did we?
That's a big jump.
How did we get there? Like, or come on, it's obvious.
Yeah.
It's obvious. Come on, just look around. Like, what? You haven't been stopped by the police before? That's almost like a Christian. And sorry for the listeners. Like, I'm just explaining to you like how my train of thought works. So I keep going back to Christianity.
That's fine.
So for me, like, my thoughts are always going back and forth. Like, how's a Christian handle this? So if an unbeliever says to you, or a Christian says, oh, God is real. And they're like, well, I don't understand how God is real, or I don't believe God is real. How? What do you mean you can't know God is real? Just look around you. Look around you. You're breathing. Look, it's obvious. It's obvious. Well, no, God's existence is not obvious. Christ rising from the dead is not obvious. Systemic racism is not obvious. So like there's a measure of patience that you have to show and clarity. You got to speak with clarity. Like, okay, well, how are we going to prove God is real? Okay, we'll use the cosmological argument. We'll use the theological argument. You know what I mean? Like Christians, that's how we talk. When we evangelize, we have to be like, okay, the swoon theory in regards to Christ's resurrection. and really being detailed. So that's why that's the framework I'm working from. So when we get into these social discussions, I'm saying, okay, sorry, help me out here. How are you defining institution? Well, an institution, I'm like, well, family's an institution.
Yeah.
The church is an institution. The government's an institution. Which one and which policy are you looking at and how it works? So I say all that to say that when people bring up ideas of institutional racism and systemic racism or oppression, I'm like, okay, let's talk. I'm willing to listen. So I'm not dismissive of it.
Yeah.
I'm not dismissive of it because that would be ungracious.
Yeah.
Right? That would be ungracious for me to just say, oh, it doesn't exist.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's not how I'm allowed to conduct myself as a Christian. I have to be like, okay, I'm assuming you are being honest and that you're telling me the truth and that this thing is really hurting you. Show me, help me. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does. And I'm assuming that, like you said, when it comes to topics of race, it gets you into a lot of trouble.
Yeah, well, again, part of it is just because I'm always asking for clarity.
Yeah.
And then people get annoyed because they're just like, well, it's obvious. Like, what do you mean? Why you keep asking? But I'm like, well, I want to be clear. The Bible passage that says, by his stripes we were healed.
Yeah.
The whole time I thought Jesus had a striped jacket. I didn't know it was lashes.
Right.
Like, it took me a long time to figure out it was lashes. The whole time I'm thinking, by his stripes were healed. I'm like, oh, Jesus had a striped jacket. Well, how do I think? Right. I really believe Jesus had a striped jacket, and then the woman touched his jacket.
Yeah.
And it was probably a nice jacket, and she was healed. So I was always believing that.
Yeah.
So for me, like I said, like certain connections, it's hard for me to make. So sometimes I have to let people know, like, look, man, like I'm not as smart as I look. Or as I pretend to be, or I'm not as smart as I pretend to be on the podcast. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things, just clarifying that. But generally, again, I try to look for solutions. So anybody, I'll give you guys a tip if you're getting in the conversation with me, how to navigate that. So I'm very big on solutions, like I said. So if we're going to talk about social justice and systemic racism or anything, I'm all about solutions, man. Like, point out the problem and let's work together and get to the solutions.
Yeah.
The problem is we never get to talk about solutions. We only argue about the problem. And that's what's annoying, especially within the Christian circles where there's a lot of, dispute. And I love arguments. I love disputes.
Yeah.
But it never gets past the point of what the problem is versus let's talk about solutions. Because once you start talking about solutions, then it gets to a point of, now the conversation is about economics. Because as Christians, and for those of you guys who don't know, and I guess I'm just assuming, but just to be clear, so like within, the Reformed circle of Christianity,
yes.
Yeah, Reformed, that's the doctrines of grace, like Calvinistic in their thinking, divine election, big God theology, guys like James White, Tom Buck. I'll throw my boy Sam Say in there, give him a shout out. Give my guy Sam Say a shout out. So you have the John MacArthur and those guys who are saying no to social justice. Daryl Harrison is another good guy.
They're saying no social justice?
No. So they're saying no to social justice.
Are they saying social justice? Are they defining social justice as what?
Well, they're against their counterparts pushing the agenda of social justice, and social justice. So they'll use the term. So we'll use the term. It's like, because they hate using the term Marxist in nature. Yeah. But I only say Marxist in nature, in regards to the ideology of classism. Okay. Right. So so we're talking about. So just to be clear, so the audience can follow along. So I'll categorize it as team woke, team spoke.
Team woke and team spoke.
Right. Okay. Team woke, team spoke. So MacArthur and those conservative guys, Darrell Harrison and those guys, I would call them team spoke. So they're very, what has God spoken?
Okay.
That's it. What has God spoken? And that's it. We don't go above the line. We don't go under the line of scripture. For Team Woke, it's like, so that's like Pastor Eric Mason, Anthony Bradley, Taylor Gray, Kemeny from Truth's Table.
Okay.
It's 4 black women, podcast for 4 black women. It's more social justice-y. And a bunch of others. So they're saying, let's help these people. Let's help fix the inequality we see in society. So that's where the dispute is between these within the Reformed camp.
Okay.
And I would say the reason why it's within the Reformed camp is because I think Reformed people are argumentative in nature.
Yeah.
Because, you wouldn't be Reformed. We wouldn't have the Reformation today if Martin Luther wasn't argumentative, if he wasn't confrontational, right? Like we wouldn't be here as people are like, well, I'm not Reformed. Well, yeah, because of the Reformation, you're here now today. We're not Catholic.
Yeah.
Why you have freedom to be Pentecostal or non-denominational, even though it's no such thing as a non-denomination.
Yeah, for sure. They're all Baptist.
Yeah, right. You know what I mean? So it's because of reformers why Christians can freely practice whatever denomination they want today, but just in nature, because they're very heavy exegetically in drawing a line and holiness and God's sovereignty. It breeds a ground of argumentation, and that's fine. And that's fine. We're okay with that. But the problem is that it never gets to the point of conversation.
Okay. That's the important thing.
Yeah. Well, it never gets to that point. It's always just talking about it's always more so like arguing about the offense of not believing. Like, Team Woke is like, well, how could you not believe this? You guys are being disobedient. And Team Spoke is like, what? How could you believe that?
Yeah.
You guys are being disobedient. As opposed to saying, okay, well,
here's a problem. There's a solution.
Man,
let's try to work it out.
Yeah, and it's funny to me because it's just like, James White, who is an apologist, and he's Team Spoke. He's a debater. Like that's what he does.
Yeah.
You know how some people are preachers, some people are theologians and they teach in a classroom, like Professor Carter. Like James White, his thing is like he travels the world and he debates people.
Right.
Muslims, Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons. It doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah. James
is going at them. But there hasn't been a debate scheduled within this little.
Interesting.
Yeah. Isn't it? A debate will happen with a Muslim.
Yeah.
A debate will happen with a Mormon, a Jehovah's Witness, or Seventh-day Adventist.
But not with this.
Non-Christians. He'll debate, there's debates with non-Christians. But you're like, wait a minute. So how come you haven't even debated guys within the camp, within the Reformed camp, over these issues? So that's when you know something is wrong. Now, James White is very intimidating.
It's because of his bald head.
his bald head, his goatee. No, but his bow tie is very intimidating. No, but James White he champions the spirit of Floyd Money Mayweather. You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean?
Like he knows he's gonna win.
Huh?
He knows he's gonna win.
Man, but you know what it is, man? It's a beautiful thing, and it's not a bad thing. James White. It's not a bad thing to have the spirit of Money Mayweather.
Yeah.
In that, for those who know or don't know, Floyd Mayweather, says, "Hey, look, man, like." Well, actually, no. For those people who really know boxing, they're gonna disagree with me because they'll say, "Yo, Floyd Mayweather ducks fights and sets up fights," but that's a whole other conversation, right? But generally, it's like, okay, well, you know where to find me.
Yeah,
I'll fight anybody, anytime, anywhere.
Yeah,
I run from no one. So if
50-0, 40-0,
yeah, so he's undefeated. But again, just champions the spirit of a boxer or a fighter, MMA fighter. that says, yo, like, you know my people. You have my number. Give me a call. Or like, I keep calling IJ's camp.
Yeah.
I keep IJ, man. I'm calling you.
Shout out to Khabib. Number get off.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, man. Like, I'm calling your camp, and you guys are ducking me.
Yeah.
So the audience is just like, wait. So IJ, Darnell's, his camp is calling your camp, and you're not responding. So now you got to do a press conference and say, okay, well, do you accept my invitation to fight? Right? And if you say no, well, then that's a problem, because you're like, wait a minute. So wait,
I thought you were the best.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So wait,
so you had the right answer.
What are you doing? What are you doing as an MMA fighter or a fight? Like, you're not a fighter. You're a lover, and you need to go make an R&B album.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's exactly it. We get that sentiment.
Okay.
And so James White champions that sentiment. He's just like, look, man, you guys know where to find me. You guys know what, James White's be like, you guys know where to find me. You guys know what I'm about. You guys know my record. I'm 43-0. Like, he's like, I debate Muslims. I debate Mormons. He's like, yo, T-Mook, like, come at me. I'll set it up. And, James White sends his notes. He sends his notes
ahead of time.
Yeah, he sends his notes. Like, that's what I'm saying. This guy's like, his debates are the best. And he's always about giving the audience clarity.
Okay.
So he'll always make sure that the audience is getting the most out of it. So they'll say, okay, just for the sake of clarity, I'm going to send you my notes so you know where I'm going. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? 'Cause that's how confident he is.
Yeah.
In doing that. So it was just one of those things. I said, okay, well, there's a problem here, because if James White, is a debater and he hasn't debated any of these guys, or none of these guys have responded to his call. And in fact, some of them, like Jamar Tisby,
who?
Jamar Tisby. So he's part of Team Woke.
Okay.
He's part of The Witness. So he has a podcast, The Witness, him, and Tyler Burns. So, James White has extended an invitation to them, and they've exercised the option to not respond, and not respond because I guess it's giving him a platform to spew his rhetoric. Mm-hmm. But essentially, they were saying that they would prefer a phone call behind closed doors.
Who? James White?
No. Tyler Burns. Okay. He would prefer
like a 1-to-1.
Yeah, 1-to-1. Behind closed doors. But
that seems like a wise idea.
Yeah, it's wise. But even as a public figure, and and our beliefs and our convictions are not private. It's a public confession, and you're a public figure. So if you're going to make public statements, you got to address those things in the public. Sure. You know what I mean? So I think that was. I wasn't really a fan of him when he said that. I like Jamar Tisby. He's part of the reason why I want to be a teacher and why I want to go into the profession. Okay. But Jamar Tisby was more so like, just don't deal with those guys altogether. Don't go to their conferences. Don't listen to their lectures. Just avoid those guys altogether.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
But again, because part of it is like he was probably assuming that the danger of his teachings would spread further, so he didn't want to give James White a platform to.
That's weird. That's strange.
Why you say that?
That's one of those things where I'm like, if a man or a woman, for that matter, has let's say a dangerous idea, I think the way to deal with it is not. The way to deal with it is to actually give them a platform, so that if the idea is truly dangerous or stupid, then you can shut it down there and then. But if you don't give it a platform, then you're saying, okay, there's something that they're saying that I'm very scared of, and I don't want people to know because it might be so powerful that it might convince a whole group of people. So the more you do that, it seems you push it underground. The more you push it underground, there's an underbelly that grows, and the next thing you know, it's like a huge movement. The best thing that I'm assuming, what's his name? Jamar
Tisby.
Jamar Tisby. It would be, hey, give him a platform. Let's talk. If James White, if he can't debate and if he's wrong, then everyone can see it, and then be like, okay, maybe we have to rethink it. But not giving someone a platform, it'd be like, say I disagreed with you, right? Say I said, say I was not a social conservative, and I said, "Oh man, I don't want to talk to Darnell. He's black and he's a social conservative. I don't want other black people to become social conservatives. So I'm not going to give Darnell a platform on the podcast." That just seems like a terrible idea to me.
Yeah.
Right. It seems better to be like, okay, I don't agree with Darnell at all. Let's just say, I know that some people might be convinced by the things that he says, but you know what? I'm going to try my best to not get try my best to give my side of the presentation so that more people are convinced that this side is true.
Yeah, and so it was just and the Witness, because the Witness used to be the Reformed African American Network. It used to be known as RAN, okay. RAAN, Reformed African American Network.
Okay,
and so I was down with it. I was down with the cause because I'm Reformed. I'm not American, but African American Network, and it was basically a lane for reformed black men.
Okay,
because there aren't much of us in the camp. It's not a common. Actually,
is that true? It's not very common?
Oh no, it's not. It's rare. It's a rare thing to be a black reform guy.
Why? Do you know?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I know. I'm asking.
It's funny. Yeah, no, it's you know what? Praise God, because the conversation is going in the right direction, and it's still flowing in line with the first question you asked me, being a black conservative.
Yeah.
So, the conservative perspective in theology is being reformed.
Okay.
That's a reform. That's a reform thing to be conservative.
Okay.
That's a reform camp, and so. The liberal, oh boy, I'm gonna get myself in trouble. They'll be like, "What? You coon?" Right? This nigga here. That's what you're gonna say. So the liberal side of theology, would be more Pentecostal.
Okay.
More
That's
charismatic.
Exactly what I was going to say. More charismatic.
Yeah.
More Pentecostal.
Yeah.
More like free spirited.
Yeah, more free spirited.
Baptist.
No manuscript. No manuscript in the pulpit.
Yeah.
You're like, look, man, God put this on my heart. I wrote something. What the pastor say?
I wrote something, but I
wrote something.
Not actually.
Yeah,
but
use God.
This.
Yeah, but God told me something just now before I came to the pulpit. So, bye seminary, right? Right, so then you start preaching by the Spirit, but so that would be the liberal camp, and most blacks come out of that. Now, one of the reasons was the conservative schools were not letting blacks in.
What?
Yeah, so like.
Why are we talking about like?
Not now, but in the past.
Yep.
These conservative reform schools were not letting blacks in.
You're talking about like seminaries?
Yeah, seminaries.
Okay.
Yeah, they were not letting blacks
really?
in. So blacks were. Get into theology from.
Seems like a stupid idea to do.
Yeah, well, it's just, it's just a reflection of the time period that they were in, right? And there were many reformed guys who owned slaves.
Mm-hmm.
So for blacks, we're coming up in a more charismatic theological environment.
Yeah,
like most of us did, and so. That would be the more liberal. So when Jamar Tisby and those guys started the RAN network, I was like, okay, yeah, it resonates with me because I was there. And so eventually they changed direction. They rebranded.
Became the Witness.
And became the Witness and kind of changed their approach.
Okay.
Subtly to really. It became a bit more social justice-y.
Okay.
And so, at that point, and that's why I got to know Jamar Tisby and Tyler Burns as RAN guys, and through the conversation. And so, I still have a respect for them. I still love them. I still enjoy their talks and their approach. So, they're not. I'm not going to say that they're not Christians or they're not brothers in the Lord, or I haven't learned from them, or I'm not still learning from them. It was just one of those little nuance. I said, wait, there's something up here that these guys are avoiding the confrontation.
Okay.
In that, so like, not to stereotype black people, so I'll just talk about my experience. But you know what I mean. You know, I don't want to do that. But like for example, you know, our culture, like black culture in general, like popular Black American culture, hip hop culture, is very confrontational.
Mm-hmm.
We have dance-offs,
Yeah.
right? Like the movie set, You Got Served,
Yeah.
right? You know, and you're basically like, oh, okay, we have the best dance crew.
Yeah.
No, we have the best dance crew. Well, what if the one dance group said, okay, well, we're not showing up because, you know what I mean?
We're too good for you.
Yeah, or you know what I mean? Or, you know, I don't want anybody to see your dance move because it might be, you know, bringing the country down or something.
Yeah.
You know, so you have, you know, dance-offs. You have
Rap battles.
You have rap battles, right?
Which I always wanted to do as a kid.
Oh,
man,
yeah.
I can't even rap though.
Yeah, but you know, but you had, you know, you have different guys doing the thing. But that's very confrontational.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It doesn't get more confrontational than that. You know, guys do homework.
Some of them are just ruthless.
Yeah, where dudes are doing the homework on you, and they're like, okay, they know your mom has cancer.
Yeah.
They know that, you know, you're illegitimate. Oh, bro. Hey, yo, it's one of those things. Yeah, it's very confrontational, even in our sports. Basketball, which is, you know, predominantly black sport.
Raptors.
Yeah. Well, yeah, yo, shout out to the Raptors who played game 1 tonight, you know, praise God. But like, you know, in basketball, there's this thing that we call putting a man on an island, where you'll come down. It's 5-on-5. For those who don't know, basketball's 5-on-5, and you'll come down. And if I have the ball and you're guarding me, and I'm like, okay, look, man, and my coach will say, expose this guy. I'm like, all right. I'm waving off my guys. I'm waving off my 4.
What?
I'm waving off, telling them to go to the side.
So that you can like
Get you one-on-one where you have no help, so that the other 4 guys have to follow those other 4 guys. So now it's just me and you. And then I'm going to do some kind of move to put you on your butt, break your ankle, put you on your butt, dunk on you, and humiliate you. And we know this because when you watch those hoop mixtape and all that stuff, and Ball is Life, you know, when guys get humiliated or embarrassed, what do black people do? They start running across the court. They just, you know, the whole place just goes crazy, right? So it's a very confrontational culture.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting you say that.
What do you mean?
Because I've never thought of it that way. So there's this brown dude down in the States, basketball player. I think he plays street. Very skilled. He dresses up as Aladdin.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. yeah.
And he goes up to these street ballers like, oh, hey, I just want to play ball, man. I just want to play ball. And they're like, hey, get out of here. And he's like, please. And then he'll grab the ball and he does these weird.
Oh, like, yeah. I see that guy. Yeah.
It's usually with black guys that he's playing with. And then they get so pissed off. They go like, sucker punch him. Or like, oh, man, this is crazy.
Yeah. No, it's very confrontational. Even just like, you know, with gang fights and gang wars and things like that. It's a very confrontational culture, which is a beautiful thing. Like, confrontation is a beautiful thing.
Done well.
Yeah,
without killing someone.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, without killing somebody, but it's just part of the nature of the beast, where you're just like, look, man, if you open your mouth and you talk reckless. Yeah, I remember talking reckless in school, and someone heard about it, and they're like, okay, well, I'll see you after school. Yeah. Like, well, I'll just settle this. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you just get into a fight, and that's it. So it was just weird to me that maybe, I don't know, maybe they didn't grow up like in those cultures. I don't know. I don't want to stereotype these guys or put them anywhere, but it was just like one of those things like, yo, man, everybody knows you don't duck. You don't duck anybody. You know what I mean? Like, I don't duck anybody. Even if I have to take an L, I'm not ducking. Like, if I just, you know what I mean? If I just talking, if any, now that I have a podcast and somebody, Jamar Tisby might be like, oh,
Darnell, who's this guy?
Darnell, man, this man, come on, man. And he's an idiot and he doesn't know what he's talking about. And you know what, Darnell, why? You know what? Let's debate. Yeah. Let's debate. And I'm like, well, I can't say no. Yeah. I can't run. Like, come on. My show's over. Like, stop listening to me. Like, unsubscribe. If I'm ducking, like, interesting. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of those things. Like,
do you think this is built in within North American Africans? African Americans,
Canadians, or what?
Yeah, I use American. Yeah. I'm going to use American.
Yeah, Americans. Yeah, because they're American. Yeah. But what are you saying?
Is this a built-in thing only within the black community in North America, or is this the case would you think?
In
Central Africa or something.
Oh well, I think it's a part of American culture.
To be confrontational.
Yeah, to be confrontational, to be showing off, to upstage people, to be better than somebody. So look, very simple. This is a very good example. Look at the way we play like soccer.
Yeah.
Right? You know how soccer or football is being played. It's it's played as a team sport. It's not really individualistically done. But like for basketball, we play basketball in North America. It's very individual based. One-on-one isolation, put a man on an island, expose him, embarrass him. But when players go to Europe, their basketball functions like soccer.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah. Their system functions like soccer players.
It's very team oriented.
Team oriented, pass the ball, cut, playing triangles, teamwork. That's why I quit playing soccer in the first place. Like, I'm 6 years old, and they're like, pass the ball. I'm like, pass the ball. Like, wait, the scores are like 2-3. I'm like, that's not enough points for me. I'm like, yo, man, I need the spotlight. That's why I started playing basketball. I need the spotlight.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I can't do this team thing. It's just very frustrating. Hockey, I can't, I need to put my man on an island, expose him, and show his mom why she needs to take him out of this league. Like, that's my whole thing. Like, you know what I mean? I'm coming for blood. And that's why I enjoy boxing. You know, it's just one of those things like, look, man, I'm going to kill this guy.
There's no hiding.
There's no hiding, man.
No hiding. So it's similar in basketball. There's no hiding.
No. It's one of those things.
I'm being educated on basketball right now.
Oh, yeah, man. They'll put you get put on the island. I've been put on the island. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing when guys will put you on an island where they'll just wave you off and just do something to humiliate you in front of your people.
Right.
You know, so again, but I think it's just just us being showy people.
Okay.
And individualistic, and it shows up in our sports, shows up in the way our music, especially with rap music and diss tracks. It's just that's the best part of rap is the diss track.
Diss track is when they're dissing another rapper.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like that's the best part because you're like, wait a minute, man. Keep my name out your mouth. Da 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 and they who could outdo who. So it's a beautiful thing when you really look at it. So
there's something else that when we're talking about systemic racism, and you were mentioning that a family's institution, right? Family as an institution of some sort. You have this thing that what do you call it? Black love ethic, black ethic love, love ethic.
Black love ethic. Yes,
black love ethic. Where you talk about how after emancipation, there were black families. There were two-parent black families after slavery ended. Then, after the 1960s. Yeah, and you were talking about how we have to recover family. Am I putting words in your mouth?
No.
What? Can you explain what black love ethic is?
Okay. Yes.
In terms of in regards to like institution and the general.
Yeah. So just I wrote an article on my blog called High End Theories. If you want to check it out. So the article is called Black Love, White Lies.
That's right. That's what it's called.
Yeah. Black Love, White Lies. And then we were basically talking about, I was talking about the black love ethic. So it's essentially there's a right way a black relationship is supposed to look. So a subjective morality seen as an objective morality. It flows out of the unique experience of blacks from the African diaspora. So the popular narrative is that black love ethic combats the hate black men and black women were taught to have for themselves during slavery. This is what ruined black relationships, but I would argue it has been the departure from marriage and the principles it embodies that has led to the deterioration of the black family in the present day.
Okay. So did this play into when you became a social conservative and you're looking at the family, and because I believe Tom Sowell talks about this. Does he? Did it play into your change in perspective?
What did
the idea of the idea of family?
Well, no, that's a Christian thing, man.
Okay.
yeah, man. I got that from the Bible. So, like,
shout out to the Bible.
Yeah, shout out to Jesus. Jesus, praise God. So basically the family is, socially it's the foundation of of a culture, of society. The family is important because, the family produces people, and if you produce good people, as with, two parents home is probably the most healthiest situation. Keeps you out of poverty, and it's healthy for a child to have both the mom and dad in the home, so that when the kid goes out in the world, you're raised with manners and you go out into the world and be productive. My mom and dad, they weren't the most educated, but they always told me that, manners will get you far. You go into someone's house, you say good morning, good afternoon, good night. You say please and thank you. And to this day, it's a habit. Like I can't, it's almost like I can't, I always say please and thank you. I always say please and thank you. Good morning, good night, good afternoon. Yeah. And that'll take you far in life. Yes, if you don't have manners and you're smart, that it only gets you so far. But anyways, so the idea of the family from the biblical concept is this. The first family starts at marriage. Right? So a man marries a woman and you guys become a family. And so a man will leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. So that leaving and cleaving is a change of allegiance. Okay. For those of you guys, those married couple, y'all, or those of you who are about to get married, I'm giving you some marriage counseling in this one right here. So it's a leaving and cleaving. You're changing. It's a change of allegiance. Okay. So you're changing your last name. So, my wife, Tyra, was a Jackson. Yeah. And now she is a Samuels. Yeah. So her allegiance is no. So people say, oh, well, I want to hyphenate my name. Yes. I want to do this. Well, I want to do this. Well, part of it is Tyra's allegiance. That last name Jackson is her allegiance to her father. Her dropping her father's last name and taking mine is changing her allegiance from her father to me. So now we become our own entity. I am no longer attached to my parents. They're no longer my family. Tyra's mom and dad are no longer her family. We are a new entity. We are a family. This is why you tell your in-laws, that you can say with pride, yeah, you got to leave my home. You're not allowed over here anymore. People's like, oh, really? Now praise God. You know what I mean? So, but it's a change of allegiance. Now, I say all that to say that, okay, so what about a couple who's living together and not married and they have children? Well, they're not a family.
Okay.
So.
What if it's a married couple and a dog?
You're a family.
Okay.
Because it's a change of allegiance. You guys are, okay, you guys are a family. You want to know how you're family? Because you guys are sharing the same last name, right? So it's under the one title. But for those people who aren't married, you guys are not a family. Okay. You guys are friends. Hence the term boyfriend, girlfriend.
So now we've progressed to partners, right?
Boyfriend, girlfriend.
So okay, so why would you say that boyfriend, girlfriend, and then they have kid, right? Live together, let's say 10 years, have 3 kids. You would say it's not a family.
I'm saying it's not a family in the sense that it isn't in the essence.
Okay.
Of what is now. Of course, yeah, you have the kids. Yeah, everybody's playing their role. But I'm saying the essence of what true family is, and when does it actually start? Because you'll have married couples who don't have kids. Yeah. And people will look at them. Well, you're not a family. You're just a boyfriend and girlfriend who just happen to have a piece of paper. No, that's wrong.
Okay. So what do you mean? What do you mean by marriage then?
So
is it? Are you saying you're not a family, or you're a family under a biblical,
a covenant? Covenant. It's a covenant.
It's just
covenant. So you've made a covenant.
Does this apply across the board?
Across the board, yeah.
All religions.
Yeah, because marriage is for everybody.
Okay.
Not everybody in homosexuality, but everybody, all cultures. All cultures, because all cultures have been practicing it from the beginning of time, and God has given that as a gift for us to maintain our love for each other. So again, like all I'm saying is that the essence is, husband and wife. You guys are no longer boyfriend and girlfriend because you guys are sharing the same family name. Usually, the wife takes her husband's name because she's changing her allegiance.
What if the guy takes the girl's name?
Okay, and that's fine too, because the principle is still there. But even then, as a woman, would you really want a man who doesn't take that seriously? But anyways, would you really want a man who's going to give that? I don't know. I mean, it's up to you. You know what I mean? If you're the woman who's, you're going to tell your man to, drop his family last name, again. But at some point, in a marriage, somebody is leading.
Okay.
Both people.
Leading in what sense?
Both people. So like it's a covenant. So one person calls the other into a covenant. The person who calls a person into a covenant is leading because you're taking the initiative to say that I'm going to bring you into this relationship and I'm taking responsibility for it.
Okay.
So usually it's the man who gets on his knee and buys the ring.
Mm-hmm.
So he's taken the initiative to say I'm going to be responsible for maintaining this covenant.
Okay.
Right? So that's where the essence of the family begins, leaving and cleaving, and becoming your own entity as a family, under that one name. And that's why I'm not too much of a fan of hyphenating a name, because again, the hyphenated name is like, your allegiance is still to your whole family. For the woman, your allegiance is to your dad.
So
even the flip the argument for a woman. Who's my allegiance to, my mom or my wife? Now, the ladies already know the answer to that because, nobody wants a mama's boy. No woman wants that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to say, that's what's ruining some marriages, right? My husband listens to his mom too much and his mom comes in and, if there's argument, he holds his mom higher. But, right? So the woman sees the argument on the other flip side. She's like, I hate his mom. You know what I mean? Yeah. So even at that point, like, showing that allegiance, yes, you do it in name, but you also have to do it in practice. So like even for my wife and my mom, I have to draw that line. Yeah. Like it comes there. And I'm sure for you too, it comes to the line where you're like, okay, look, mom, you need to back off. Yeah. You talk to my wife like that again, you will not see her. You will not see the kid anymore. Yeah. You come in my house, you respect her. Yeah. And it's the same thing. For the wife and her husband and her dad. Yeah. Or her husband and her mom. Again, it's that allegiance. So you become husband and wife, and then when you're not married, and even though you're living together, and even though you have kids, you're still boyfriend and girlfriend. You're not husband and wife. You're not a family. So because you guys aren't sharing that name,
right? So do you think that there's what's the word, an undercutting of marriage within Black communities?
No, I wouldn't say there's no undercutting. I'd like to say there's a lot of single parent homes. But I think part of it too is I think I mentioned that in my article.
So why is there a lot of single parents?
Well, I think I mentioned this in my my Black Love White Lies article. So I was just basically saying that the reason why there's a lot of single parent or single mothers raising kids and no Black men in the home, I think, man, stereotypes are a dangerous thing. Yeah. Popular Black culture can be a dangerous thing, in that there's an over sexualization within the Black community with Black men. Over sexualization. So like of Black men. Oh. So looked at as sexual objects. So there's good stereotypes and then there's bad stereotypes. Like certain ones work to your favor. Okay. And coming back, starting from slavery and Black men being looked at as subhuman. Okay. They're more like animals. They are forbidden fruit. And even like just talking sexually, there's a mystique to that, an erotic mystique to that, where it's just like, okay,
big hands.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, like I want a sexual experience that transcends being human. You know what I mean? Okay. I'm not without because I know there's kids listening. I know there's kids listening. You know what I mean? So I don't want to be a stumbling block to anybody. We got to put a warning in the intro, like, hey, man, it's a stumble block for you, man. If you're struggling with porn, man, this is not. Yeah. So, but essentially, there's a over sexualization of black men, and some buy into that narrative.
I fully buy into it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, well, why not?
Oh, you mean black
men? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Why not?
Okay.
Like why not buy in? You know what I mean? Like it's one of those stereotypes, like women approach you and they're like, I wonder what it's like, and you're like, oh, that's just a stereotype. Don't stereotype me. Get away from me, you sexy woman. You know what I mean? No one's saying that. Dudes don't talk like that. They be like, "Oh shoot, well, yeah,
You know how it is.
Yeah, you know how. Come on, girl. I mean, come on. You don't gotta say all that. Just okay. What's your number? All right, cool. What time can I call you? All right, cool. All right. And it's just like, it's just an sex. Lust is an insatiable appetite, and it gets the best of us all, not just black people, but it's dangerous when you're playing with an over-sexualization of a people, and you buy into that.
Yeah.
And, when everybody's buying into it, it leads to a lot of indulgence. It's not hard to make children.
Not very hard.
You know what I mean? It's not,
seconds.
Yeah, it's not hard. You know what I mean? It's just, you lie down with somebody and then you wake up and then you're like, oh, frig, like, shoot. So I say all that to say that, single parent homes is the reason why you see more single parent homes is because people aren't marrying before they have sex. Men aren't.
Do you think it's that men aren't being responsible?
Yeah, or loving the woman appropriately.
Okay.
And honoring her with the ring, and it goes both ways because for women as well, like, because of the condom, the invention of the condom and contraceptive, it incentivizes more sex. When there was no contraception, people were careful. People were like, okay, mess around, you might get pregnant, and then you're in trouble. But now, it kind of gives way. So on the woman's side, the contraception gives way to that as well. So, but part of it essentially is, people aren't getting married, so they're having more casual sex.
Okay.
And because you have casual sex, you're having more babies out of wedlock.
Uh-huh.
So I really believe it's just that stigma that's attached to black men and the over sexualization, and that you're having more sex, casual sex, and you're being born out of wedlock. And it's just one of those things, like, I talk with my wife about it all the time, and I'm like, man, like, this is crazy. I'll even go further. Like, I'm not even going to talk about other black people. Forget that. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to talk about them because not all black people are the same.
Yeah.
There's different experience. Yeah. Not all people are the same. But I could talk about my family, and I could talk about her family, and I could talk about our extended family.
Yeah.
And that's our narrative.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about other black people, but I know that's our narrative. Like, there's just a lot of that within our circle of our families. So again, like, marriage is key and it's foundational for the family. So because, like, when a man says, I'm going to marry you, like, he's saying, okay, well, no, I'm going to be faithful to you. That's it. There's going to be no other person. We're going to work together to build wealth and raise these kids right. But yeah, now you have a bunch of single parent moms raising kids, and we don't got to get into the stats and the harm that it causes when there's no dad in the home. But I want to nuance this point real quick because in my article I talk about the achievers, the non-achievers, and the deviant from Carl Ellis Jr., who's also a black reform theologian and social critic, and his stuff is pretty helpful, I've been finding. So basically, he kind of gave this nuance. He says every racial group has these three categories, right? Of the achievers, non-achievers, and the deviant. Mm-hmm. And so what ends up happening is that. So let me define it. So the achiever values work as a means of getting ahead, delayed gratification for the sake of a better future. And then the non-achiever devalues work as a means of getting ahead, instant gratification, and disregards the future. And then the third is the deviant, who basically rebels against the law because they're just like, okay, look, man, I don't have the skills, and just screw the law. I'm going to do my own thing to get ahead. Every group has this. The only difference is with black people, he says, is that our deviant culture is popular culture.
Okay.
And therefore we are defined by our minority. So he says like every group has an achiever, because being achievers is survival.
Yeah.
So we have, every racial group has their surviving group, and the ones that do well and the ones that pass down wealth and get it.
Yeah.
So black people have a lot of achievers, but you wouldn't know that if you watch TV.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't know that if you follow Six Buzz on Instagram.
What's that?
Oh yeah, don't
follow it.
No. People be like, all right, let me take a look what they're talking about. Okay. but yeah, like Six Buzz, Six Buzz is this Instagram page, and they post a lot of urban stuff within Toronto from Toronto.
Okay.
And so some of the stuff is like some ratchet stuff and foolishness, but if you follow that, you know what I mean.
That's
So you're not going to see a lot of black achiever content in it.
Interesting. Okay.
You're going to see a lot of deviant, underachiever, balance, more underachiever. So for example, an underachiever value, holding money up to your ear, having a stack of money.
Like a phone?
Yeah, like a phone. Holding money up to your ear to show how much money you got.
Okay.
That's not necessarily deviant, but it's underachiever.
Okay.
Because that money should be invested in something.
Okay. Dang. This is some investment advice here.
Yeah, right. You know what I mean? So
get some mutual funds.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, achievers don't hold money up to their ear. Right. Achievers aren't concerned with what the latest shoe is.
Delayed gratification.
Yeah. An achiever, woman or male, doesn't lay down with somebody until they get married, because one, the family's important, and two, that you don't want to be having kids out of wedlock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I say all that to say that, with the single parent homes, I'm sure that it's not a majority thing among black people that there are achievers. But again, there are people who underachieve, and just don't know any better. They're not deviant. Underachievers are not deviant. So for example, not all achievers are rich.
Yeah.
So you have unachievers. You have achievers in the hood. You have achievers in government housing. But guess what? The achievers don't stay there. Right? Because they're achievers.
They may start there.
Yeah, they may start there, or tough times. Just bad luck. God's providence, just took you there. And you're in the hood. And I remember growing up in government housing, and my neighbor, we all had like a plot of grass. I grew up in McCarty Court, and everybody had a plot of grass, and so like one of my neighbors was like, he used to yell at us for walking on his grass. I'm like, what do you mean for walking on your grass? Come on, man! Like, this is McCarty Court. Who gives a rip? I don't care about freaking grass. Yeah. But what he cared about the little property that he did have, like ownership. Like ownership was valuable to him. And guess what? He wasn't there very long. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't there very long. And some people end up living there, and they don't take care of their place, and so forth. So like underachiever values, you don't progress. And that doesn't make you necessarily a bad person. It's just like you just don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't want to stereotype black people to say that we're all not, taking care of our kids. There's just some who are underachievers, and like I said, it's popular culture. Our deviant underachiever culture is popular culture.
So solution would be to try to undercut that.
No, I don't think you can undercut it. I don't think
so.
No, because popular culture is because.
But can you make it unpopular?
No, you know why? Because it's sin, and sin sells. You know what I mean? Like, we're Christians. Come on, man. You're not gonna get rid of the enticement of sin.
But could you not start emphasizing overachievers, the attitude that overachievers have as a thing to strive towards?
No,
No?
No. Good thing I'm on the show. No, man. It's not. Being an achiever is when I got to talk to my mom and dad, and they're like, "Hey, man, you're a black kid. The system is against you." Yeah. That didn't motivate me to be an achiever. I was like, man, I'm not trying to work twice as hard. You know what I mean? Like, to be a doctor.
Yeah.
To be a lawyer for what? I'm watching TV, and Allen Iverson is in the NBA, all tatted up, chains. The ladies love him. He's 6 foot. He's actually probably like 5'11", weighs 160 pounds. He's like me. He's like a regular human being who's doing what he loves to do, and doing it at a high level.
Yeah.
Or I could be a rapper. You know what I mean? Just rap a whole bunch of stuff and, carry on and say whatever I want and go far further. Like all those things are a lot more entertaining and more appetizing to a young mind. It's easier, being a comedian, getting on. I wanted to be a comedian, I wanted to be on. Yeah, when I was a kid, man, I used to study it a bit. I was really thinking about doing that, but then I became a Christian and, I couldn't be swearing like that. So I got a potty mouth by nature. So I really wanted to be on stage, like saying, "Mother F this, oh, this motherfucker, see these motherfuckers, oh, motherfucker, oh, man, I hate them motherfuckers, oh, motherfucker, oh, I love those motherfuckers." So that was, that's how I used to talk. But I used to, I wanted to be that comedian, like, "Oh man, F these ninjas, I hate motherfuckers, these motherfuckers, step on my motherfucking shoes." That's what I wanted to do, right? Like, so like you can see me as a kid, like telling me about systemic racism as a kid did not motivate me to want to go and work hard.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm like, "Yo, man, I want to be on stage telling jokes like Martin Lawrence. I want to be on Def Comedy Jam. Yeah. I want to be in the NBA. I want to be like Will Smith." Yeah, look, I'm bringing up Will again. Like, Will was a slacker, right? Chasing girls. Yeah, Will was a slacker. Carlton was the hard worker, right?
Oh, you mean from
Fresh Prince?
Okay, I thought you were talking about real life.
Yeah. So Will was a slacker in Fresh Prince, and Carlton was a hard worker. But then when it's time to go to college, they ended up in the same place. Mm-hmm. So how is Carlton getting straight A's and Will not, and they're ending up in the same place? Right. So for me, it's something like, my mom's telling me, "You got to work twice as hard to get ahead." I'm like, twice as hard, man. After that. Like, man, I'm trying to play basketball or rap or something, man. That's just too much work. Like, come on, man. That's like, kids aren't stupid. Young people aren't stupid. Black people are not stupid. Yeah. You keep telling them like, "Yo, man, the world is against you." So what? So what, you're gonna beat the world? You, that one person? Come on, man. Like, look, Obama was president 2 terms. What? Nothing changed. People don't change. Come on, man. Like, he comes and goes. He's history now. Yeah. He's in the past. He's gone now. And now, people look to other things. Just comes and goes. So I don't think that narrative can change. Okay. The only way I see it changing is through Christ. And Jesus Christ is the paradigm. Jesus is truth. So he's walking, talking, incarnate truth. Breathing truth. So based on the scriptures define your reality. Not TV. Not culture. Culture does not define your reality. Not even your skin color, the way people treat you. That does not define your reality. The scriptures do. And that's the only way you can break free from that bondage of popular culture. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. You don't think there's any other way?
Well,
if you take personal responsibility.
Yeah. Well, okay. You know what? Okay. I'll be gracious and say there's another way. Being pro-black. Being pro-black in that you really have to champion being black as the end in itself. That has to be the paradigm that you have to work from. So you say something like this. I want to, because of, the social ills that's going on with black people, I want to be the change. I want to be that black man. I want to be a good black man. I want to see black people do better. I want black people to be kings. I want black Black people are kings. Black people are queens. You're a queen. You're a king. You know, black is beautiful.
Yeah.
Light skin is sort of not, but dark and being black is beautiful, and being black and that's the end goal, and that's fine. But what does it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul? Like, it's a motivation for some, but not a motivation for all. It's funny because my wife was on that tip when she was in college.
Okay.
So when she was part of the Black Student Union.
Yeah.
And she was more militant in her thinking.
And then she...
Huh?
Did you say your wife was black militant?
Yeah, it was more militant, yes.
In college?
Yeah. Yeah, so she was on that tip. Real social justice-y before social justice was cool.
Wow.
Yeah, so my wife was on that tip and, and wanting to see black people as seen as respectable.
Yeah.
That was her thing. Like, wanting to see black people conduct themselves with dignity and pride and be successful. And that was the motivation that spurred her to want to do good works and give back. Yeah, so that's where she was at. And I'm saying, like, you can still help out a community. You can still help the black community without championing I guess black love ethic, I guess. Okay. You can still do that apart from that. Like I don't have nothing to prove. I don't for me like and that's fine. For people who want to champion that black love ethic, you're free to do that. But again, like it still falls short. It's still not an end in of itself. Like saying things like, Adam, the first human being was black. All people descend. Oh, I'm going to say something very, oh boy. Okay, I just got to say it. All people don't come from Africa. So the narrative is that all black people come from Africa. Not just black people, but everybody. Yeah, human. Asians, white, so all people descend from Africa. I don't believe that. Huh?
That's what I would think.
Yeah, you would think that.
Yeah.
Why?
What are you gonna say?
Oh no. You say your piece, man. This is your show, man. Say your piece, so we can just see where I'm going. So yeah, you say your piece.
Well, I would say that. I mean, that's what the experts in the field have said, that we all migrated from Central or North or Central Africa and moved upwards towards Eurasia. Some went towards Mongolia, China now, and then others went to the what is it, the west side, and then the continent kind of split apart, and then skin color changed because of the environment. That's what I would think so.
Yeah. No. I've heard that, but again, people come. Well, the first person came from the Garden of Eden, right? Right. The first human being comes from the Garden of Eden.
Why can't it be in Africa?
Because the Garden of Eden is no longer accessible. Africa is.
Okay.
So we start there.
Okay.
So my thing is this, and again, I'm just deducing.
Yeah.
I'm just deducing. So the first human being, if the first person comes from Africa, and the first person on the continent of Africa,
yeah,
how did they get there?
How did they get there?
You're right. So in that we know what, like, according to the biblical narrative, that man was in the Garden of Eden kicking it with God until God kicked them out, and then they landed on wherever they landed. But if you're deducing the argument far back, we have to go back to the garden.
Okay.
Right? And from that point on, there isn't any evidence to say what Adam and Eve look like.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with it, but is that only the case if you take the creation account literally?
What's this guy talking about? What do you mean? Well, of course we have to take it literally. Well, how else are you going to take it? What? That, okay. What? This is a fable? Like Jesus refers to Adam as a real person.
No, I'm not saying Adam's not a real person. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying the creation account of that God created Adam and Eve from instantaneously. I guess that's the word I'm looking for.
Made from the dust.
Yeah, just like created them instantaneously. You know, the 7 days of creation, 6 days of creation. That's exactly the way that's exactly how it functioned. Is that only the case if you take? I mean, I'm not saying you take the 6 day account literally, but I'm saying, do you only have a problem with people coming out of Africa if you take the creation account literally and say, okay, God created Adam and Eve instantly, and then they came from the dirt, boom.
And that they were in the garden with
but,
God. And then again, like all I'm saying is that, you know, if you're going to deduce the argument to the first man and where he first came from, man first comes from the garden.
Okay.
And the garden is a real place that we're still trying to get back to.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. So yeah, so what I'm saying is, like, maybe I'm speaking out of shock value, but you can say like, okay, you know, the first man came from Africa and all men came from Africa, but the first man starts in the garden.
Okay.
You got to go back to the garden.
Okay.
So the garden is no longer accessible until new heavens, new earth.
So it's some sort of it's not on Earth. The garden wouldn't be on Earth. It would be like somewhere else.
Well, the garden was on Earth, and that realm is closed.
Okay.
So new heavens, new earth comes down to us. So we're still going to be dwelling here, but it's just going to be a renewed creation, because right now we're in a fallen creation.
Okay.
And it'll be renewed. Right? It's progression, right? We started out in a garden, and then we're going to end off in a city, right? Still fulfilling the cultural mandate to cultivate creation, to make it into something. Glorify God and use for human advancement. So heaven is still a place where we dwell here on earth.
Okay.
And we continue living our lives like we usually do, but to the glory of God, in a more advanced society than from the garden.
Okay.
But I only say that, like, just, you know, working from a presupposition of, if we're going to deduce, first man comes from the garden. And so we look at that narrative and we work from that. So again, like, if you want to champion, being black as the paradigm which interprets your whole reality, it interprets your economics, it interprets your sociology, it interprets your politics, it interprets your theology, then, I mean, yeah, that's you.
Yeah.
But again, it falls short. It still falls short of reality. A biblical reality and the ultimate reality. But again, if you look back to the point, you're trying to dodge this deviant popular black culture thing. So some people will champion the black ethic to escape that. Okay. I think from the Christian narrative, I think you can still escape that without necessarily championing a black paradigm of truth, like almost like a deity type thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting, man. Right. Thank you, sir. We've been doing this for I guess almost 2 hours.
Almost. Oh shoot. Yeah, I know.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks so much for doing this.
Right. Yeah, man. No, thank you for having me on the show, man. It was a lot of fun.
Man, there's a lot more that I want to talk about, so next time.
Oh, next time. Next time. Okay. Whoa, really? Next time. Oh, wow. Okay, this is cool. I hope look, man, I hope this is helpful for people.
I think it is.
And I hope it was deep enough, cuz you've been having like professors on the show, man.
Bro.
And I'm these big time guys, and I'm just a poor black man trying to make it out of Brampton.
No, you're definitely not. Man, that's awesome though. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot, IJ.